Welcome back to another episode of Storyteller. We're going to continue to look at Walter Benjamin. This time we're asking the question, did you ever hear Radio Benjamin? Our theme is that there's a downside to radio and another downside to YouTube too. If you want to learn more about this and Walter Benjamin's work, check out the book with the introduction by Hannah Arendt called Illuminations, Essays, and Reflections of Walter Benjamin. 2 chapters in particular, The Storyteller, that we're going to work our way up to, and a lot of today is focused on a chapter, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. So when we have a YouTube, we're going to look at how it's moved away from theater and how radio moved away from theater. And just to give you an upfront, Walter Benjamin was very interested in the epic theater of Bertolt Brecht, and we'll come back to that later in the broadcast. So let's do some of our introduction work. We're focused in this series on 4 storytellers. Leslie Marmon Silko, our first episode. Gertrude Stein, that we're going to work up to. Walter Benjamin, the storyteller. We started last time with the arcades, and now we're looking at the notion of the reproduction of art in YouTube is sort of a theme, overall theme, and in the radio. And we'll get at the end of the series to Grace and Rosile. And today is about Walter Benjamin, a poetic tribute. Ours is a poetic tribute to Walter Benjamin today. And he did the marvelous essay, The Storyteller, which you can find with the Google search. The Arcade Project book and the Radio Benjamin book are something we're focusing on and how these 3 interact together. A little bit about Bertolt Brecht epic theater, and so you understand a little bit what we're doing. He was born in Germany 1898, died at 58, 1956. He's famous for his theater as a playwright, and he wrote epic theater. For example, the 3-penny opera would have been available at the time that Walter Benjamin did the session we're going to do today on the radio. He was against Aristotelian notion of the audience catharsis through identification with a hero. So instead, he would break down the 4th wall of theatric frame and address the audience directly. Not him, but actors would break down the wall. And we'll be breaking down the wall a little bit today. So watch for that. There'll be a quiz at the end. 4th wall is an imaginary wall at the front of a theater that divides the audience from the stage. It disrupts the narrative flow. Credits for today. Let me show you the actors and actresses today. And transition, please. All right. All right. There they are. Gracie, you will be playing Walter Benjamin again.
I am Walter Benjamin.
Okay. And I am the woman Haker. I am also the Sand Wagon driver. And I am a bookseller pushing a pushcart. That's who I am. So we're going to go ahead and do the play now. This is a radio broadcast. It's one of 80 that was done between 1927 and 1933. And this will be scene 1. And we'll come back and say some more things after the broadcast. You will start.
So keep in mind, my broadcasts were for children. However, the messages applied to adults also. Here is a sample. The big snout is the first thing that comes to mind when talking about Berliners. Big snouts are clever ones, doing everything better than the rest of us. Big snouts open their big traps so wide the Brandenburg Gate could fit inside. Today's topic,
I had to adjust the script.
Today's topic, street trade and markets in old and new Berlin. If you're familiar with the fairy tale, The Golden Pot, you may recall the strange old apple monger. Or in Hoff's tale, Little Long Nose begins at a market where a witch touches all the goods with her spidery fingers to pick out the best goods. And when you visit the market with your mother, isn't it thrilling and festive? For even the most ordinary weekly market has some of the magic. Have you seen the film that was shot at the market at Wittenbergplatz? It's more thrilling than most detective films. A market is the best place Berlinish can be overheard. In old Berlin, there were these so-called Haker women, mostly farmer women peddling produce. They were forbidden to sell the better goods, but they could spin 4 pounds of wool per month for warehouse factories. But they were not allowed to buy directly from farmers and could only sell stock that was unsold by other market day vendors. They had only a meager living for their families. This was still the case as late as the 18th century. If women of low standing wanted to contribute to the family budget, as some soldiers' wives did, there were few other options than to be a hawker.
A Flurner customer. Hey, let's have some fun. Get that hawker riled up. It's good sport. And it begins, hey hawker, hey hawker. Listen here, you old dog. Oh, let me put it in a female voice. Go bark at some other stall, and I'll stomp on your paw so hard you'll be whining for 8 days. Well, isn't it remarkable how this hawkers can scold. Scold? Such a faffy beanpole of a guy like you. You can't even be scolded. You're already 2 or 3 times worse than anything vile I'd say about you. Such a shadow of a male specimen you are, always trying to get the best of someone. You filthy pedant. You want to bully us around? Is that it? Go curl up in a ball. Go see the rug man. Sell yourself for a £1/4 of rags. Take some gravel and rub yourself clean with gravel so there's nothing left of you, and steer clear of the choir boys, or they'll start singing. God of my mercy shall preserve me. God of my mercy shall preserve me. God of my mercy.
I apologize for David's rendition of the street scene, but his heart is in the right place. Anyway, as I was saying, the marketplace was almost an actual sport to spew insults straight from the heart, and with such presence is indeed a great talent, although David's enactment was a faint rendition of that talent. Such great talent is reserved for a privileged few. Not David. It requires a great deal of crassness, a healthy lung, a large vocabulary, and not least of all, great wit. I do not want to suggest that this sort of great-witted Berliner has died out. But you, as customer in New Berlin, have a different experience. It's no longer so easy to get close to the sellers amid the hustle and bustle on market days. Today's market women have become business women, going to a market hall or outdoor market sometimes can bring back the charm of long ago. But that is the difference between today's market and former markets. And it is similar to the downside of radio. The scolding by a woman hawker to a customer. The hawker being a soldier's wife or a farmer's wife, trying to contribute to the family budget. And in the process, scolding the gentlemen, flaneurs, the what today they call customers. I don't think that has entirely died out in my time, but it has changed, and I believe it has widened the class divide between classes, between merchant and flaneur, between the various people in the marketplace. So one of the downsides of radio in the markets, you miss the smell, the fish, the cheese, the flowers. David is distracting here. stone floors, the runoff of dishwater, the water on the floor being slippery like the ocean, the light seeping through murky panes of lead-framed glass. It is a different experience from the open-air market that brings back the charm of the long-ago markets. So the physical place affects the experience. On the radio, you and I walk past each other at the market and don't recognize each other. That is the downside of radio. Most of the market hall and outdoor market vanished from the streets of Berlin. You miss, for example, the Sand Wagons that were present up until around 1900.
Get your white sand. Get your white sand from Rieberg Mountains in the north or from Kersberg in the south. White sand for you housewives there on the second floor to scrub your floors clean and white. Scrub your floors clean and white.
There were kipper wagons, colporteurs, door-to-door book peddlers. They each earned meager livings.
Get your pulp novels here. I've got colorful pictures in them. There's sheet music with lyrics. A few pennies for broadsheets. A few pennies for broadsheets. Get them here from this cart.
In your world, a broadsheet would be priceless. Before advertising, publishers would market books and music sheets direct to people. It is not the high social class book trade of today. Such booksellers have all but disappeared. The book carts are still around, but the booksellers themselves are not the same as in my time and in earlier times. David is now a bookseller.
I'm a customer now. Let's go browse the books in that cart. There's a guy sitting on a canvas stool. He's reading a book by Walter Benjamin, it looks like. I'll be patient at my book cart because I think I'm kind of an Irish book cart guy. Anyway, I'll be patient because these flinners, they will browse through 50 books and put their fingers all over them. And they'll browse, but maybe they find something. Maybe they find something, worth a few pennies here, but 1,000 times more valuable. It's interesting how the Berliners, Schnauz, they rummage through my book cart. They have no serious intention to buy. But the one thing people rummage about and buy books they never would have dreamt of buying. Me, I read them all. Hey, bookseller. Bookseller, what about this book here? This is a poetry book by Charles Pierre Baudelaire. Baudelaire died in 1866. This book contains the poem Les Fleurs de la Mal, the flowers of evil. I know some of the verses by heart. Let me regale you. In nature's temple, living columns rise, which oftentimes give tongue to worlds subdued, and man traverses his symbolic wood, which looks at him with half-familiar eyes. Or how about this one, on beauty? Dost thou generate from heaven or from hell? Within thy glance so diabolic and divine, confusedly both wickedness and goodness dwell, and hence one might compare thee unto sparkling wine. We'll take that book. That ends our script from 1929, broadcast by Walter Benjamin on children's programming. Now, we know that he died in 1940, and he can't say anything after 1940. Those are the rules of today. And did you know Walter Benjamin was the Mr. Rogers of Berlin radio? Very popular amongst all demographics, children and adults. By the summer of 1932, little background. Let's put us in the picture here, Grace Ann. Words are covered over, so what? German government under Chancellor Franz von Papen started to gain control over radio broadcasting companies and pulled them all together, and full government control by 1934. Now, radio became supervised by the programming by the Minister of the Interior, and this happened year by year while Walter Benjamin is broadcasting children's programming. 1933, however, radio was nationalized by the Nazi government, used extensively by the Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda under Joseph Goebbels. So, radioactive career. He's called radioactive, Walter Benjamin is, by Theodore Adorno. And having heard this broadcast, I hope you understand why. 1940, he died. So let's obey the rules as we go forward here. Not just children, but everyone, listen to Radio Benjamin. And that's something that's different about radio than it is a YouTube.
I was well known in those days.
So the radio is an apparatus. Karen Barad calls them an apparatus nowadays. Just to let you know, Walter. You know, and it cuts reality differently when you have these technologies. And the takeaways today are next in the slides coming up. But look at this family, all with their earphones, huddled around the table, listening to Walter Benjamin, or a group of school children listening to Walter Benjamin on another kind of radio set. And how is this different from Google YouTube's, I would ask?
Let me think. I am trying to recall what you call Google. You did explain YouTubes, which are films.
Oh, Google has the ability to search through films and texts and libraries around the world. It's a magical device, best I can explain it, where you can search and find anything you want to know in any encyclopedia without owning an encyclopedia.
It seems to me that these technologies come between one person and another and have the potential to cause a greater gap between the classes and just from one person to the other.
It's actually worse than that, is it? What are teachers good for anymore when students can search out anything and find out any answer?
Answers should be determined through conversation, through interaction.
I would agree with you, Walter Benjamin. Looking here at how people produced a radio program, each holding their script in hand, not having to worry, like YouTube, you worry, people will notice that you're reading from a script. And notice how people would, in this other radio station, lean in to listen to what's going on. And it's a very much of a community ensemble. My wife, Grace Ann Rosile, writes about this ensemble notion.
The radio had many advantages. It allowed me to speak to many people.
Let us come back into the scene. Step across that fourth wall. So, what is lost when art becomes mechanical reproduction? Let me think. That's your line. Let me think. I can't say your line. Anyway, the artistic performance of a stage actor becomes a screen actor, says Walter Benjamin in his writing. That's what you wrote. And you didn't write about YouTube, but it has many consequences. You did write about film and photography. Camera person keeps changing position in the YouTube film or any film. That can happen. Special camera angles, close-ups, backing up. Not so on radio. You see the radio. You're around a radio. You hear a voice. It's very much about hearing, listening, deep listening. A stage actor can adjust to an audience during their performance. And in YouTube, we adjusted to the audience, but we don't know how the audience is adjusting to us until they send comments back or hit the like button or call us on the phone. Some are calling us on the phone, Grace Ann. Not on radio or YouTube, except with a live audience. You can have a live audience on YouTube. It's a very magical technology. I've probably said enough about it. So, what do you think?
I think one must consider carefully the advantages and disadvantages of technology and be careful to preserve human relationships. If technology can assist in human relationships, then I think technology may be very beneficial.
Thank you, Walter Benjamin. appreciate you coming down from above and gracing us with your presence. I think that word grace has multiple meanings, doesn't it? Phantasmagoric, ghost, assembling. Assembling what? Assembling the gore, speaking publicly. How does it change from one apparatus, a radio, a theater, a YouTube? Any thoughts?
I think we must keep in mind the ultimate purpose, and the tool should serve the ultimate purpose.
Well, I'm going to write that down.
It is as Brecht has done. The purpose is to communicate, to break the barriers, to communicate.
Thank you. One last question. What is the future of YouTube? I'd like to invest in some stock and, the future. I could, put some of our pension funds into stocks. Let me get out of the picture.
Some think that where I am now, we can foretell the future. However, I have found it does not serve a valuable purpose.
So you're not going to tell me?
That is what life is for.
Is it like last time when you said, I could tell you, then your time on earth would be over?
If you like.
I don't like that idea. So hit the like button if you've liked our video. Don't let the Grim Reaper come and get you. And you can also subscribe to our channel if you have a Gmail account, as we talked about last time. So Grace Ann Rosile, here giving a lecture in France, of all places, on tribal wisdom. And at least I think you're in France there. I remember taking that picture. And there's some videos you can click on. We'll be getting to her episodes. Don Pepillon has a chapter in her book, Native American Scholar, wonderful chapter on Indigenous ways of knowing. Gregory Kahete has such a chapter. We've got video links. I'll put them in the description. I have a chapter or 2 chapters in that wonderful book. And then there's J. Francis, University of New Mexico, also a chapter, and Grace Ann Rosile, without the mustache, or with it, either one. No, you're still in character. Okay, I'll skip to the end. Come and participate any Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Here's a book that I wrote called Theaters of Capitalism, where I explore Bertolt Brecht and Walter Benjamin and how it might be a stepping stone to creating a more conscious capitalism in today's time. You can click on the link in the description for the video, and it will take you to a short video introducing you to the Enthinkment Circle, or go to enthinkment.com. There's some active links I'll put in the video. We ask that you skip verification and that you join us whenever you can. And we thank you for coming today. Goodbye.